My name is Tara. I'm a retail strategist and style enthusiast, and this is Real Life Fashion Stories. Here on Real Life Fashion Stories, we like to talk to those professionals that are in the fashion business but aren't necessarily at the forefront. It's a huge global industry, and there's so many people that have so many roles and so many jobs within the industry that makes it turn, that makes the industry work. So today I'm really excited to have a longtime friend of mine, Lauren Morris, designer, owner of boutiques, and she's doing a lot of things that we'll get into. But one of the things that I really wanted to talk to Lauren about today was that transition from corporate fashion into owning your own business. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So happy to have you. So you and I go back a long time.
Yes, a long
Let's
time.
just say,
A long
without
time.
giving away our age, we go back a long time. There's definitely lots of days on the train together in the
Yes.
morning with our dreams of starting our own businesses. And both of us have come a long way. Taken different paths, but always kind of stayed, aligned and parallel. So I'm really excited to talk to you a little bit today and just tell the people your story, because you have an interesting story of lots of transitions and pivots in the fashion industry. So let's start off. Again, I really wanted to talk to you about your transition from corporate into owning your own business, but let's talk about your corporate experience for a little bit. How did you start your career in corporate fashion? What kind of motivated you to do that?
Well, again, thank you so much for having me. This is kind of like nostalgic, but it's like sitting here talking to my good girlfriend.
Of course.
So I'm definitely excited to be here because you were one of the ones, well, you were the one that I was on a train with every day. We're running to catch that train to get into the city
Yes.
because we both worked downtown
Yep.
Manhattan, and we had to get to work,
Yes.
right? So, just sketching and drawing and like, Tara, this is going to be my bag soon. And, so you were there from the beginning. So I do appreciate this time and this story. So corporate, how did that start? It was a freak accident.
Okay.
No, it really was because I was working in retail, and retail was my thing.
Yeah.
It was something that I was good at. I was always good at selling, and I had an eye for fashion and things like that. But I didn't really know that I had an eye for fashion. It was just something that I like to do.
Yeah.
Even detail, down to detail. So, but fashion, the fashion industry on a retail level is just chaotic. And I always say retail don't care.
And when you say retail, you mean at the store?
At the
You were
store.
working at a store.
Yes. So I was on store level at every level, from a salesperson all the way up to visuals, then being a store manager, assistant manager, store manager. And it was grueling.
Yeah.
At the time I'm a young mom. And then I became a mom now of two. So my thing was, you know what? Retail does not care about you being a mom
Nope.
at all. So it's like, listen, you're going to work these 40 hours plus, and we don't want to hear anything else.
That's right.
So I had to make a decision while I was on maternity leave to do something else. And I always knew it was in fashion, but it's like, on what level?
Right.
So I decided to go to school. I saw this commercial, it kept playing. It was a college commercial, and I'm like, if I see this commercial one more time, I'm going to enroll. And I literally enrolled. But it
Well,
was one
that's
of,
advertising at its best. I guess that commercial works.
completely. So I am a testimony to that working. But besides that, I started to go to school, and when I went to school was for fashion merchandising.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay. So you were a merchandising girl like me.
Yes. So it was more so the business aspect of fashion,
Yeah.
and which is important to have because a lot of times you can be all creative and no business. So it's like, you got to have a balance of two or a really good partner.
Yeah.
So, but just going back a little bit, I started to intern for a major retailer corporately.
So internships are important. Let's take a moment to talk about the internship
Sure.
experience because I think that's one of those things that are underrated, especially nowadays. I feel like maybe during our generation, during our time, internships was like a big thing. But I see now a lot of younger people really are trying to go straight into the workforce. How important was that internship to your career?
Oh, it was so key to my career because, okay, so at the time I was a little older. I was an older student. I
Well,
think I
that's
was,
what happens when you're a
yeah.
mom, and by the time I finished, I was a Jaleesa
Yeah.
myself, for
Jaleesa.
sure, for sure.
Right. So I was about 25, and I knew the importance of what it meant to have a career
Yeah.
and know what you want to do. Because I did know what I wanted to do, as
Right.
opposed to an 18-year-old who did not and had no clue. So I took this very seriously.
Yeah.
So we had an actual open house at Madison Square Garden. And I was dressed, ready to go. I wasn't playing any games, business attire. I'm ready. I have my resume. I'm ready to go.
Do you remember what you were wearing?
I had on a black pantsuit. I was ready.
Okay.
And so we're walking through Madison Square Garden, and all of the jobs and opportunities were for like Bloomingdale's on the floor. So you're talking about basically folding sweaters.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that. I've been there, done that. And in the corner, I see Jones, New York. And when I saw Jones, New York, I'm like, oh, let me leave the flock and go to Jones, New York. And that day, I nailed it, an interview. I was the only person to leave with an actual interview
Wow.
for the following week. And then turn out I was the only person to actually get the job and get a paid internship. So
Wow.
internships are very important, whether they're paid or unpaid. I mean, paid, of course, is ideal, but whether they're paid or unpaid is very important because you need that experience to
Yes.
then go and secure a full-time position elsewhere. It makes you more marketable. It makes you more valuable when you have one.
Good. So you got your internship at Jones, and it was a paid internship. So at what point did that turn into a full-time job?
Okay, so I was still in school, still a mother of two, okay, still working
And
part-time.
they're getting bigger and hungrier.
Right. Still working part-time at Fortune Off, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah, so-
over here.
Yes, the old Fortune
Okay,
Off.
that was a good.
I know.
was a
I
good
worked in the
location.
silver department, and I was there. So I was going to school, working at Fortune Off, and I had this internship in the city. And it was a full-time internship, so don't even ask me how I did this.
Right.
So, so basically, I knew that I needed to work hard
Yeah.
in order to secure this job.
Yeah.
I had a computer, I had a desk, I had my own phone line. Never saw it. I never saw it. They put me in a closet and said, okay, we need you to organize this by season. I had no idea what that meant. The closet was pure chaos.
Wow.
So what I decided to do was organize it by color. And then
Was that the direction you were given?
no, it wasn't. But guess what? I did all of this with the door open. Why? Because the CEO's office was at the end of the hallway,
Wow.
and I knew he would see me on his way to his office. So
Look at
I
that.
got I vacuumed, and now the place was color coordinated. It might not have been by season, but it was color coordinated. But they were so impressed with me. They used to call me the closet girl. So yeah, closet girl. Like, look at what the closet girl's doing today. So I lived in the closet, but it taught me. It taught me a lot about, you know, textures and clothing, and you know, eventually I would learn the seasons and everything like that. But when it came time for me to graduate, they offered me the position of the receptionist.
Wow. Wow, what a
Yeah.
story.
And a receptionist job, never frown at that job, because that is such an important role, because you get to know everyone in the company.
Yeah.
And guess what? All things go through you first. So it was an amazing position. And then I was, of course, elevated from that as well.
So, what would you say was maybe a highlight of your career at Jones and sort of like a low moment?
Oh, very easy. So, okay, so I was working at, gosh, what was it, 38th?
Yeah,
38th and Broadway.
38th and Broadway.
Yes,
Yeah, because
and-
I used to drop you off
Yeah.
and make my way down to 34th Street.
Yes. And literally, Jay-Z's office was upstairs, his showroom. So that's when The Rock was The Rock. Like, it was like, oh my God. You know, and I used to run into him in the elevator, so it was pretty cool. You know, a little later on, I ended up designing my own bags, and I had one of the couriers to sneak it over to Damon Dash wife at the time, and she has one of my bags.
Wow.
And she sent me a letter back saying like, good luck, the bag is beautiful, thank you so much for it, things like that. But besides that, so sitting in the boardroom, actually going through a sales presentation, I set up the showroom boardroom for, you know, all of our account execs,
Okay.
all the big wigs, they're in one room, and I'm sketching.
Oh.
And I'm just sitting there sketching and doodling, and I'm supposed to be paying attention, right? I'm like, wow, this looks like a purse. And I was so inspired by my own sketches that after the meeting, I went to design to get a cartridge, right, from the
A
receptionist.
printer cartridge?
Yes, that's how long ago this was. And I said to her, receptionist, because they're the important people in the company, I said to her, where can I go to bring my designs to life? And I never forget, she looked over at one of the top designers for Jones, New York, and he said, step into my office. And I thought I was actually in trouble. He wrote down 10 steps for me to follow.
Oh, wow.
So that was amazing. And then I want to say in less than 3 weeks, I had about 50 bags at my desk that I designed based on his steps.
Wow.
So that was a high point. One of my low points, I had this like, maybe it was a chip on my shoulder, or maybe I was just a little immature, but I didn't take any mess from anyone. I still don't, but I know how to do it in a different way.
Yeah.
You don't fight every battle. So
Right.
I used to like print out emails, like print. What did you mean by this? And I would go to their desk like, what are you trying to say? You know, so learning how to not fight every battle, and everything is not an attack.
Yep.
And everything is not a tear down, and learning how to put the shut to the up and keep working. So that was like a low moment.
I'm sure that was a valuable lesson. I think in the fashion industry, those who may be watching who are having a fashion corporate experience, there are a few humbling moments that I'm sure we can all relate to, but it's something about those moments that end up shaping us.
Yeah.
Especially as people in our personal lives and as businesswomen.
Yeah.
So it was interesting that you had that experience that was humbling. And was it somebody who was a superior who kind of like shut you down?
Yeah, so they were the account execs, and I just felt like, you know, they felt that I was beneath them, even though I had got a promotion to be the vice president's assistant. And I kind of felt like they thought I was, beneath them in some kind of way. And, the emails read snarky to me, just like a text can.
Yeah.
Text can be misleading at times. And I had no problem confronting the issue. No problem. Like, right down the hallway, put it on Sarah's desk. Like, what? What you mean by this? But it backfired on me, and it made me look like the angry Black girl in the company.
Yeah.
And that was like a low moment for me, but it's something that I've taken with me. And I do teach it to anyone that comes under me. Like, you can't fight every battle, and everything is not a fight. It's not.
And one of the things that I've always talked to folks that come under me, because I've had similar experiences, I probably wasn't as ready to fight as you are. I think I'm definitely more of like the quiet soldier. Like I'll take stuff in silence. But how that manifested for me, it manifested in low motivation because I didn't necessarily address things right away, and I had some of those similar feelings of feeling inferior or, having that imposter syndrome. I know that's a buzzword, but
but it's a real
dealing
thing.
with that, and it's a real thing. So probably an opposite reaction to that, but I do. In my career, I've learned that it's important to focus on the outcome.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I say to myself now. Like if I come across somebody, because I'm still in corporate, but when I come across somebody who's being rude or being snarky or being mean, I always just think about what is the desired outcome, right? And once you focus on what the desired outcome is, that'll sort of change your actions.
Yeah.
Because if I go off on this person, what are the consequences of that? And then as a result of that, am I going to get to what my goal is?
Right.
So that's something that I always tell people that work with me on my team, that to just focus on what the outcome is. And then if you decide to pop off on somebody, just be okay with the consequences that come with that.
Right.
So that's a very interesting story. So what was your departure like from when you decided, how did you make that decision to focus on your own business and your own designs like full time?
So here's a fun fact about me. I'm an easygoing person,
For the most part.
And when I'm, when I,
For the most part.
when I'm on a job, I do my job and I do it well.
Yeah.
But I always had this occasion where I would get fired from a job. Like, again?
It's got to be a mistake.
Me? So
You got fired.
I got fired from Jones.
Okay.
Okay. And it was interesting to me because I just got those 50 bags at my desk. And, now I'm like sitting in a meeting and they're like, so, I can say I had mixed feelings, right?
Yeah.
Because on one hand, it's like I'm 4 years with the company. And on the other hand, it's like, I got 50 bags.
Right.
I'm going to go sell them.
Right.
And I'm going to be the next Gucci, Louis Vuitton, or whoever, I think Lauren Merkin was popping at the time. Like, she was everywhere. And I'm like, we have the same initials. This is weird. But leaving there was probably one of the best times of my life.
Yeah.
I would say, because it was like the beginning of something new. I had this idea in my mind that these bags were just gonna go and I was gonna put them in boutiques, and I was always taught that fashion is from the ground up. So I'm like, okay,
We on the ground.
Yeah,
Let's go up.
Let
Would
them-
you say you were
Right.
delusional in hindsight?
Just a tad.
A little bit.
Just a
But
tad.
I think that's a beautiful thing, because I think that delusion kind of got you through that dark space of like feeling rejected and being turned away. And it was like that delusion kind of almost gave you the drive to be like, okay, I don't need them. I got my 50
I
bags.
got 50 bags.
You know what I'm saying?
We're going to make these bags pop.
It's exactly,
that's what I had
instead
in my
of
mind.
having the attitude of like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? How I'm going to eat? How I'm going to sleep? It almost, that delusion kind of like covered that thought process. So
It didn't even enter my mind.
I love that.
It was just like, okay, gotta go. and put my stuff in a box and mail it to my house. That's the attitude I had, you know. So here it is now that I'm with these 50 bags. And I'm thinking it's going to be so easy to get rid of them and to have them, in these different stores and boutiques and things. And it was like, no, you're a non-brand.
And you were like, what
I'm
does
like,
that mean? I'm a brand. What
I'm
do you,
like,
don't you see my bag?
What are you talking
I'm a
about?
brand.
You can't resist these orange suede bags. And it was just like, no, we can. We can resist
We
them.
can and we will.
Right.
What was your first design? I remember there was one design. It was the oversized clutch. I was
Yes.
so in love. I still think to this day that was just like my favorite silhouette.
Yes, yes. So the thought process was, okay, I work in Manhattan. I live in Westchester. Okay, so you got to carry so much.
Yes.
And you look like crazy, like you got your sneakers on. Everyone thinks like, you work in Manhattan, you have your heels on and you're like, looking cute. No.
It's not
You either
clever.
have some really terrible flats on or some bulky sneakers and you just look crazy. So my thought was, and then you have extra bags, you carry it and you're like, oh, got to get to work on time. My thought was, why not create a nice oversized clutch that you could throw things in?
Yeah.
You could throw your little iPad, or at the time it was like a tablet or whatever. Your tablet, your wallet, your phone, a pair of flats or something like that, and you can go right to work and you can still look
And
good.
look chic.
And then after work, you don't even have to worry about, oh
Because
my
it transitions
God.
to evening.
Transitions right to evening.
Yeah, love it.
So that was my thought process. And it was a good thought process because a lot of people stop me and like, oh my God, where'd you get that bag? And I'm like, I made it. I'm the designer of the bag. So yeah, it was one of my first.
Amazing. Okay, so now you got your 50 bags. You're getting turned away. People are like, no, you're not a brand. What do you do?
So I went back to the drawing board in my kitchen and I came up with a business plan. And like I teach in my classes now, like you need a roadmap. And it seems like outdated to sit there and say, okay, what is my target market, my mission plan, my demographics, my this. But it's a real
It's
thing.
important, yeah.
You need that. It's a roadmap. And then once you have that in your hand, it makes everything like, okay, this is tangible. This can really happen. I can really do this. So I sat there. I put together a business plan. I figured if I can't have it in your store, I can open up my own store
Hello.
and put it in my store.
Hello.
And that's what I did.
Wow. Amazing. So you went from being the closet girl to a handbag designer to now a boutique owner.
Yes.
So tell me about that. What I'm gonna ask you an interesting question. What lessons about life did you learn by being a boutique owner?
Oh, it was the best grand opening, grand closing ever. It was like 9 months of like, oh my God. So the lesson that I learned was I didn't know everything I thought I knew. And where it was that I was so creative and I had this merchandising background and I could, see something and know exactly where to put it and I knew how to style clothing and all this
Well, the
fun
store
stuff.
looked amazing. That's
Yes.
one thing
I mean,
I would say. It was
to
the
just
best
start off.
merchandised store still to
Thank
this
you,
day.
Tara. Thank you, Tara.
Seriously.
So the thing about that was, and I'll never forget, this was a huge mistake that I made. When you don't stick to your plan, someone else will make plans for you.
Ooh.
Yeah. I let
That's a
someone
bar.
come in.
My brother says, no bar hopping. You're not going to hop over that bar.
That's right.
That's a bar.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So I never forget, this woman came into the store and she looked around and she said, oh, nice store. And I said, oh, thank you. She said, have you ever considered consignment? And I'm like, no. And so she was like, you should. And then my mind went to consignment. And then before I knew it, I had a store full of everyone's stuff that they no longer wanted, but now they want money for it.
Right.
So now, because I don't have great experience with consignment, now I have this.
Yeah.
Now I'm no longer focused on making my bags or designing my bags and having like a small quaint boutique. Now I have this monster of a consignment store that I don't know how to get rid of merchandise.
Right.
Yeah.
Dang. Okay, so um, I had another thought. It just popped out in my head. I got distracted. But so you had the boutique, and you talked about going off your mission for your plan, your business plan that you had laid out for yourself. How many times did that change?
It's so funny because I'm living my business plan now.
Wow.
The same business plan that I made back in 2008, it's happening now.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I
So,
remember we have a story at the boutique. We did a fashion event.
yes,
We
yes,
did a
yes,
fashion
yes.
show. I think that was like the first time that we both worked together independently.
Yes.
And I think it's funny because I always kind of reference back to that moment because I actually learned a lot about myself doing that event that I realized that I'm like Jekyll and Hyde. Because I think I literally turned into Mr. Hyde. I was like going
realize.
off about like the makeup and the this and the that, and I was just like, I am like mean. But I think it's because when you're passionate about what you do and
Yeah.
you want something to be successful and you want it to look a certain type of way, you become sometimes you can become a little grumpy. And I was like, at the end of it, I was like, oh, there was times where I don't think I was very nice, but I don't think you.
Maybe it was to the models, but I didn't pick it up. Everything has always been like a fun ride with me and you, but
Yes, a good time.
I didn't pick it up if you were.
I felt bad, and I was just like, maybe I wasn't so nice. But I think that there's a certain respect that we probably have for each other in our crafts, and that we were both in the fashion business, but from different aspects of it. So I used to love putting on shows. So thank you for providing the space and the environment to be able to do that, because that was one of the things that I really, really, really enjoyed doing.
Well,
So.
and you're welcome because you helped me also to put together a show for my store that I probably wouldn't have otherwise done because I was in like consignment craziness. Yeah. And you help me fish out stuff and like, what about these earrings and this necklace and this and that and and you brought the models in, and I never forget the playlist. The Etta
What was the
James.
play-
It was
Oh.
Etta James playlist. Security. I was like, all right.
That was a moment.
That was a moment.
That
and
was
I
a
remember
time.
the place was packed.
Yeah, I remember it was
Yeah.
successful. I remember people being outside.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
It was a good time.
It was a good time.
We had a great time.
So, all right. So, grand opening, grand closing.
Yeah.
So, what was the next iteration? So, you actually made reference to living out your business plan now. What was kind of the next step after the boutique, and how did the brand become bigger? Because I know we're talking, and it sounds like there's a lot of failures and a lot of closed doors. But with every closed door, there's an open door. And from my perspective, some people may look at it like, oh, Lauren had a store and now she don't got a store no more. But it's like, if you understand business, it's like, no, her brand has actually got bigger and wider. She's not just a boutique owner. She is a brand. For whoever told you you weren't a
Absolutely.
brand, you are a
Absolutely.
brand. So what
Google no.
what was that next step like?
Okay, so yes. So I'm a person, I've always looked at the cup half full. Always. Always.
Optimist. That's probably why we get along, because I'm like that too.
Yeah. Never like, there were disappointing moments.
Yeah.
100%. But I've always looked at the glass half full.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not empty. There's more. So
There's more where that came from.
there's more. So of course it was devastating. 9 months, of being open and then having to close. But realizing I don't know everything that I should know. I need more of the business end in order to be successful. And I remember a friend called me on the phone and she's like, Lauren, you got to go to the store. I think it was like Anthropology. She's like, it reminds me of your boutique. And I'm like, what? And I remember walking in and I'm like,
Oh my God.
yeah. Like, I want everything. And I got the job on the spot. It was, easy. And I was there and I never forget this. I saw a few people come in and they're like, Lauren, what are you doing here? You work here? Don't you own a store? And I went in the back and I cried. I was like, oh my God. It was terrible. But I remember feeling like it's going to be okay. Like, you're going to learn what you need to learn, and then you're going to reopen at another point. So I worked there, and I think I was there for like 4 years, and I was running that store with my eyes closed.
I
But
remember the Anthropology days in the
yeah,
Westchester.
yes,
It was that store
love
right by
working
the
there.
entrance.
Yeah.
I came and visited you a couple of times.
Yeah. And it was a cool store. I worked there for 4 years, and I was basically running that store. And anyone who's worked in retail, in the mall, you know, like, retail doesn't care. They will work you to death and will not promote you and do all the things, you know, to you.
Yes,
They
basically.
don't care.
Do the things to you. Retail
the
happens
things
to
to
you.
Yeah. So while I was there, I saw a book. It was The Sartorialist. And it was sitting there, and one of the models, she had on a few pieces from my boutique.
Shut
And
up.
it was like, wow. Another crying moment.
Oh.
I'll take this book too. You know, I still have it to this day. It's in my store right now. But, you know, leaving there, figuring out, like, light bulb moments. Like, if you want to be a boutique owner, you're going to have to go and work for boutique owners.
Right.
And you're going to have to work in that field to see what it really is like.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I still, you know, designed my bags, created different pieces and things like that. You know, I would go to different places. I went to the Brooklyn Navy Shipyard.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I got some really expensive samples. I mean, really expensive samples that I'm like, I cringe to this day about those samples. And I never forget, you know, feeling like I had a conversation with my girlfriend, and she's like, you know, your miracle is in your movement. You got to get those bags and get them out there. And I said, oh my God, you're right. So I packed up my stuff, put it in the car, and I just went around from boutique to boutique. And I went to a few up here, and I got turned away, you know. So I said, you know what? I need to go where the people are.
Yeah.
So I went to Harlem.
Okay. Not a bad place to be.
I went to Harlem, and I went into the brownstone. I met Princess Jenkins, who's the owner. She's still the owner now. And I tried to, you know, just kind of wiggle my way, and she made me sell her my bags. Like, basically, like, why do I need to buy your bags? Like, sell me these bags. Like, tell me why I need to have these in my store. And, you know, I sold her and told her all the things. She gave me a 2-day trunk show in her store. So when she gave me that trunk show, I started to sell to her customers. And then I had to go back to the manufacturer and get those bags produced and things like that. That was, oh my God, it was mind-blowing. But it had me on edge, like, oh my God, I have to do this. Like, I have to get this done. I have to do that. I have to, you know, but it was one of the busiest times for me as a designer. You know, I have customers.
But you have a demand now.
Right.
Now it's a demand.
Real life customers.
It's people who are interested in your bags, and now you have to kind of deliver. It's not like,
Yeah.
here's my bag, come get them. It's kind of like, now you're engaging with people and you're getting feedback, and now that's shaping the direction of your collection. It kind of reminds me of the story of Coco Chanel, because a lot of people don't realize she was a milliner. She had a hat shop first, and she, you know, she served a very specific clientele, and then that's how she was able to build her brand, by listening to what her clients were saying. So it kind of reminds me of that story, because now you're getting that experience of being on the ground and, like, listening to the people.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So she gave me the 2-day trunk show. I delivered on the goods, and then she offered me a job to work at her other boutique on Upper Lenox.
I remember, and you were running that boutique.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was there. I was running a boutique because I still had the boutique itch. Like, I wanted to learn how to really function and work. And I really did. This boutique was in the hood, for lack of better words. It was, you know, Upper Lenox, you know. And but it was an amazing space that she had. And I went in there, I merchandised, I ordered things, I gave her feedback, I mixed and mingled with the neighborhood, and
Nice.
but I saw for once in my life, like, Black excellence, and that was important to me. I saw, city officials come in and have a glass of prosecco and hand me their Black card as they're shopping, and it was real moments
Yeah.
that I had. So when I got back on the train from 125th Street to White Plains, I'm coming off the train like, yeah,
You had a new vigor, a new
Yeah.
sense of confidence, and
Right.
sense of self.
we have money too. That's how I felt. And because
And do.
yeah, exactly. And I was able to also sell my bags there as well. So she gave me multiple opportunities there.
Amazing. So just thinking about the corporate experience, because kind of going back to leaving corporate and sort of pivoting to all these different directions and becoming who you are today. And I know that there's still so much more to go. The story obviously doesn't
Sure.
end here. Would you say, in hindsight, was there ever moments where you felt like, man, maybe I should go back into corporate?
No,
Never.
no, never, because the kind of creative that I am, I can't sit still like that. Like, I'm at work and sneaking out to go into the garment district, into fabric stores.
Coming back late from lunch, I think I know why you got fired.
Where is Lauren? I'm in mood. I'm like, touching materials, and I love the hand on this, So
The environment just wasn't conducive to the way you needed to be creative.
no, and I feel like there's also a certain respect level that's not there in corporate America for Black women. Just, it is what it is. It's not there, and we do the most. We do. We think outside the box. We're running around and we're grabbing this and doing that and setting this up and pulling this down, and still at the end of the day, okay, where's the promotion? Where's the
Yep.
raise? Where's my...
And that's something that I always struggled with professionally as well, And I remember one time, it was around the time, so I've been laid off 3 times in my career. And I wear that as a badge of honor, because one of the things that I will say from all of those times that I was a part of layoffs, I always bounce back. So never did I ever, when I got those pink slips, did I think like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Because I always knew I was smart, I was talented, I know what I'm doing. I know that I have a proven track record, especially by the second time, that I always bounce back on my feet. But I think the first layoff from Saks, I think was really hard. And I think it was at Applebee's or something like that, because I took that time very seriously. So I would take my laptop, go down to Applebee's, get a lunch. They had like a lunch special, and I was sitting there with my laptop and do my resume and apply to like 50 jobs a day. And that was me getting up and getting out of the house, because I felt like if I would sit in the house all day, I would just go into a depression. But I remember having a random conversation with this guy, and I was telling him sort of my story and how I was like, I'm over corporate. I don't want to work corporate anymore, this and that. And he kind of had to talk to me. He's like, you're crazy. He's like, do you know how many young Black girls want to be a buyer at Saks? Your story is amazing. Like, you need to keep pushing, because we need that representation. People need to see themselves in you. And that's always been a battle of mine, because at what point, do you continue to take the abuse? You know what I'm saying? Because that, in a lot of cases, that's what it is. It's abuse. And not just in fashion, but fashion has a unique flavor of abuse, especially to Black women.
It's like a punch in the face abuse.
So that's always kind of like a tough thing. So it's interesting to hear your story, and you kind of standing firm and making your decision that like, no, this is just not for me.
It's not for me, and not to say that someone can't be successful
Yeah,
in it.
and
Because
it's
you
not
have,
everybody's story. Everybody's mission is different.
Exactly.
And I'm starting to see that for myself, that my mission is different. Everything that I've done my entire life professionally is leading up to this moment today, you know, and not everybody's path looks the same. I see there's always a lot of conversation about like leaving your job and becoming an entrepreneur, but a lot of people don't understand what goes into entrepreneurship. You worried about, you know, somebody laying you off. As an entrepreneur, you get that version
you
of
lay your whole
layoffs
self
too,
off. You
right?
will lay your whole self off.
And without a severance package. You know what I'm saying?
Insurance, nothing,
Okay.
nothing going
So
on.
people really need to think about that when they make that move, and I think it's an amazing one. And I think we live in a unique time
Yeah.
now where a lot of us, like myself, have the opportunity to have a corporate job and also have a side business.
You have to. You have to be able to feed that creative side, even if you're working creatively, right? But you have to be able to have that outlet or
Yeah.
that sense of fulfillment for
Yes,
yourself.
for yourself, because sometimes it can feel like when you're going to a job, it's like you're performing tasks and acts for another person. And
yeah.
sometimes you don't get that same fulfillment. So when you're able to do stuff on your own, like having the opportunity of doing like fashion shows for you and like, you know, doing the famous fashion show, the exhibit at Arts Westchester, which was so iconic. Those moments are important to be able to have those outlets. But I do think for me personally, there still is a lot of work to be done on the corporate side too.
Yeah.
So I think anybody out there that's kind of like battling with that decision of like, should I stay corporate or should I do entrepreneurship? I think it's important to think about what your goal is, like what you want to leave on this earth, and don't be, you know, persuaded or bullied into doing something that's not for you. Because sometimes it's not always a yes or no. Sometimes there's a maybe. Sometimes there's a maybe yes, maybe no. Like it's not always black and white. There's lots of colors within the spectrum where that doesn't necessarily have to be your story. Interesting point of view in terms of corporate. So now let's go back to you building this brand,
Okay.
right? I do want to take a few minutes to talk about Dreamers and Drivers.
Sure.
What is Dreamers and Drivers? First of all, the name is so inspirational because who doesn't love to dream? I like to ask people around me every day, like, what did you dream about last night? Because I think dreams are just the foundation of greatness and life, right? Like dreams kind of dictate what actions we're going to do in life. So I love that name, and then Drivers. It's just it's like an action.
Yeah.
I'm doing something. I'm going somewhere. So, what is Dreamers and Drivers? How did you come up with that name? What is it all about?
So, okay, so basically, when I reopened in 2017, my store, my boutique, according to my business plan, in my business plan, it says, I want to be a boutique owner downtown White Plains, servicing women with accessories and clothing, selling my clutches, Lauren and clutches. Simple as that. But it was the first time that I got the notoriety as a luxury brand. Luxury designer hits downtown White Plains. I'll never forget that line. Hits downtown White Plains, exclusively selling her Lauren M designer collection.
What?
So it was like,
What?
she made it, right? So 2017, 2018, I kept getting this question, how? How did you do this? Do you have a sugar daddy?
Not a sugar daddy.
Stuff like that.
Not a sugar daddy. Who
Sugar
is
daddy?
bankrolling this operation?
You know, people couldn't believe I was the owner. It was just like beyond them. How did you do it? When did you get started? What is your story? All the things, right? And you know, first and foremost, I always went back to God, like, because if it had not been for God, and it's not a cliche, like, He did it. he had his hands on the situation the whole time.
The whole time.
He was like, sis, you just need some more experience in this area, but I'm going to show you what it means and how to work for these other entrepreneurs so that you can go and operate in your own business the same way, because I was just getting fired left and right. Just another job. But I say all that to say, to answer the questions of how did you get started and, how can I get started? I decided to put those people in one room with the resources. And that's where Dreamers and Drivers was birthed. Because my dreamers are those that have this vision, this idea of business. They have an idea of a product or a service or of being an entrepreneur, have no clue where to start. Those are my dreamers. It's just up here. They can't get it out of here. They can't get it out of their own way to now get this on paper to bring this vision to life. Because I'm always an advocate for writing things down.
Yeah.
Like we do a lot in our phone, but when you can write something down, like you're seeing this idea, this vision.
It manifests different.
Yes.
You're writing it, you're actually doing a thing, there's an action, an intent behind it, you're looking at it, you're feeling it as you're writing, you're thinking, so it's like a whole mind-body experience by writing it. Writing it down.
It's like facts
I
on
agree.
facts. Like you write it down, this thing gets legs all of a sudden. It's walking.
And we're walking.
And we're walking. So the drivers, a person like myself, right? So I'm in a driver's seat. I'm in 1 year, 2 years of business, but now I need acceleration. Okay, I need resources.
Yeah.
I need networking. I need the connection. So that's where Dreamers and Drivers came from.
I love
but
it.
it's like, put you guys in one room and let's sharpen each other.
Yeah, and it gives the opportunity for people to network, and maybe if I'm a dreamer and haven't put that to fruition, maybe I meet a driver who can show me how to get behind the driver's seat. I mean, it's a brilliant concept.
Yeah, and iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
So, we bring in professionals, whether they're, political organizations, we bring in those resources, bankers, insurance, whatever is needed to make your business successful, we try to get them all in one room. So now they're at your fingertips. Now you can walk up to someone and ask the questions. And it's been successful. This is what it's been, and it's grown so quickly.
And this is the third year of
We're going
Dreams?
into our 5th year.
Wow.
This is the 5th year.
5 years.
This is the 5th
What a
year.
feat.
Yeah.
So you started during the pandemic, because that would have been 2020.
I started in 2018,
Oh, okay.
and we took a break.
Got it.
2020, 21, oh, no,
back.
not 2020, excuse me. 21, 22, we did 23, now we're headed into 25.
Wow.
24.
Amazing. So I know you also do an annual benefit,
Yes.
an event.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So we do an annual conference, and what we do throughout the years, we'll have courses, where we're definitely touching each other throughout the year. So now it's not just like, okay, we're having a conference, everybody
Right.
come. No, like you're already in a groove of things. You're already moving. You're in the classes. You're doing the pop-ups with us. You're doing whatever you're doing to feed your business and to grow your business. Now the conference only makes sense to attend.
Right.
So every September-ish, we try to, we have our conference, and I try my best to find the best keynote speakers who are just, inspirational, and they're able to actually pour back into all the dreamers and drivers that are in one room. We believe in a holistic approach. So not only are you getting the natural part, but then we're going to tie in some of the spiritual part, right?
Because that's important.
Right.
That's important to business. I think a lot of people forget that piece of it, because you need something that's going to push you every day to keep going after your dreams, and it's not the dollar amount. It's something spiritual that needs to kind of move you. And
Exactly.
there's a healthy part of it too. Like you have to be healthy to be able to have that endurance
Yes.
to endure all those things. So I love that you kind of incorporate all of that?
It's mind, body, and soul, really. Because, yeah, we get excited about the money and, oh my God, the money, money, money. But what are you doing with your money? Are you a steward of your finances, a good steward of your finances, right? Are you bearing your talents and gifts? What are you doing? You know, how's your character?
A lot of y'all gonna let that go over your head.
Right. How's your
How's your character?
Because if you got bad character, you're gonna have bad character in business.
Yeah.
Like the way you do things translates throughout your whole life and everything that you do. Like if you're bad in one area, you probably most likely, you know. So what does that look like? And then let's talk about money. You know,
that should be the last thing.
Exactly.
That we talk
So
about.
that feeling of, you know, just having a whole holistic experience, that's what the conference is all about. And then last year we awarded an icon for Westchester, Denise Proctor.
Oh,
Yes.
I love Denise
Fashion.
Proctor.
I mean, come on, like she was huge.
Yeah,
She
she
was
was
huge.
important to us.
She was important. And so I'm like, hello, Trailblazer Award, because she definitely
She impacted
blazed
me
the trail
for
me.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So so each year we're gonna do that where we honor someone. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in fashion, but someone who's made an impact in our community, doing what they love.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. So, I like you talked about how you go about inviting the keynote speakers. And last year you had a really exciting keynote speaker, Michelle Gee.
Yeah.
Can you tell that story of like how that happened? Because I think that's such a cool story.
Yeah.
It could be an inspiration to other people.
No, it absolutely was. It was one of those that I'm like, Lord, please. But my sister-in-law and cousin, they were at an event, you know, they were vendors. And she happened to be the keynote speaker, Michelle Gee, for I believe it was like, you know, some banking event or something like that. And I remember getting a call from them, you know, early in our planning stages, like, listen, whoever you had down as a keynote, get rid of them. Because
Put them on the list for next year.
right. We need her. We need Michelle Gee to come in along with Monique Ross, who I'll get into who she is as well. But we needed her because her speech was so phenomenal and it was so inspirational. So we sent out the email.
I love this story.
And I think it was like an email to her daughter, which was like, can we please? And I guess she got permission.
Can you ask your mom?
Yeah. Right. I guess she got permission, which was, you know, so great. And Michelle and I, you know, we started talking via email. And she said, you know what, Lauren, usually I don't do this. And especially for people I don't know. And she said, but it's something about you. And this was via email, not on the phone, not over coffee. This was email. She was like, I can feel your excitement through your email.
Wow.
And she was like, so I only do things that I'm led to do. And she was like, and I'm led to do this for you. So yes. OMG. I was like, you know.
And how impactful was she leaving that?
Amazing.
Session?
First of all, you know, we talked about business and, you know, how to scale and sustain it. So she spoke on scaling your business. So taking what you have, right, and not exactly expanding it, but scaling it. Like, how can I impact on the business that I already have now? How can I grow on top of that? And she had us do some, you know, different little exercises and things like that. The first one she had us do was write down something that you want to get rid of. So we're like, about yourself. So we wrote it down. She had us stand up, rip it up, drop it down. And everybody to like drop it down, paper, and literally walking over and walking back to their seats. But then she's like, and now I can begin. because it was like once we got rid of that part, then it was like able for her to pour now. Now I can pour into you
Let's
guys.
get rid of what we don't want.
Right.
Make room for what I'm about to pour into you.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct. And then the second half, Monique Ross came in, and she is my pastor, and she's just amazing as well. We always keep her as like our closer. She's the finisher, because you know she's a businesswoman herself, so she's gonna give you the business aspect, but she's gonna give you some biblical principles to now put together. And you know, she just like tucks us in, like, you know, we're like,
all right,
thumb in the mouth and tucked in. I'm at my own conference, like, can you go over? But you know, just awesome, amazing women, and I was so grateful to be able to have them in the same room.
That's amazing. So talk to us a little bit about what's in store for Lauren M. handbags.
Oh my God. Okay. So staying true to who I am, you know, and not so much falling in with the trend and, you know, what's popping right now. You kind of want to have your pulse to the industry.
Right.
However, not falling into what's completely out there, because what makes you unique?
Exactly.
What makes your product different? Why should I buy your bag as opposed to Gucci or Louis Vuitton or any of those other things? So I had to kind of take a step back and really go back to what made me unique in the first place, you know, and capitalize on that, and stay consistent with that. Every spring, summer, I come out with like something very whimsical, pretty and soft, and then you open the bag and it's like a beautiful interior. So of course we're gonna go with the watercolor look, and you know, the florals, and then as we get closer into the summer, we're gonna throw some stripes in there with the flowers, and you know, just mix it up a little bit. I'm heavy on like that kind of upholstery material.
Yeah.
I love working with different materials. Not everything has to be leather, like a leather bag.
Yeah.
It's fun, but I have about 10 of them in my,
Yeah.
you know, so I am working on a few collaborations.
Oh, exciting.
This will be the first time. So we are definitely ironing that out to see what that can look like. But my goal is to hit the retail stores. Those good old retail stores.
So this is such a full circle moment.
Yes.
I feel like there's a theme. This is my third episode of doing real life fashion stories,
Okay.
and I've talked to some amazing people like yourself. But a consistent theme is that there's always this kind of sense of like return. You know, kind of going back to oneself, and I kind of feel like that's metaphoric for like what our life's journey is.
Yeah.
Like it's not really a linear start and finish. Like there's this circular thing that happens, and when you're initially driven into something, there's a reason.
Yeah.
You might go on a journey and you might travel, but there's always this sort of like coming back to that happens. It's crazy. Like I'm just noticing that theme of like everybody that I talk to. So that's amazing.
Yeah, 100%. Like you really have to come back to you and what makes you you in the first place. You know, granted, we've all grown, most of us, right? But
Most of us.
right? That's
Some of us, you know, takes a couple of lifetimes to get it right, but yes.
right. But I mean, you know, that's ideal. What's ideal, right?
Yeah.
Growth. But when you're in this type of business, you have to get back to what makes you you, what makes your product unique, what makes you stand out. Why do you even want to do this in the first place? It's like a marriage. Like you got to go back to the.
Girl,
Why do
I
I like
don't know
you?
nothing about that.
Oh, I can tell you some stories. This is for a different
Another
topic. So yeah.
episode. Another episode.
No, but you gotta figure out why you fell in love in the first place.
Yeah.
You know what sparked that, you know, interest, that desire for you to design and create, and what was it? Are you being true to who your brand, what your brand is, and who your customer is? Because not everyone's your customer, and that's fair.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And what do you think your approach is gonna, like, how do you see your approach this time versus the time when you tried to do that when you had your 50 bags and people was like, get out of here?
Yeah.
Like, what
So
do you think is different now?
it's called receipts. Yeah, it's called receipts. Okay, it's called look me up, and I've got receipts.
It's called Google me.
Yeah, exactly. It's called receipts.
I love it. So those people who said this is not a brand.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Receipts. Well, here's what I did last year on my non-brand.
Right.
Non-brand. But no, and in all seriousness, that's what it comes down to. Your receipts. And I had this attitude, if you will, throughout the years. Maybe I was a little salty. Because
you saw it. You knew you had something.
Yeah, I had something. And I'm like, you know what? I'll put them in my store. And you'll come looking for me. But you know what? Things have changed. The world has changed.
Yes.
It
has it. Oh, it has.
Yes, I have my showroom now. I have an entire manufacturing company. I no longer have to go to Brooklyn, ship overseas and things like that. We have a manufacturing company right here in White Plains. And, I have a showroom downstairs. So it's like, okay, so let's try my hand again at, the Bloomingdale's or Saks or Bergdorf or, try my hand again. And
so now you're going to be on the wholesale side.
Yes.
Interesting. So yeah, keep me in lockstep. Just because there's also just a lot of changes in the retail landscape now. A lot of those names that you mentioned are no longer here today, and there is definitely a change in the way the customer shops. I actually, one of my good friends and an old coworker who is a coach and a stylist and a wardrobe person, she wears many hats, but she made an interesting post on her Instagram where she kind of asked the audience, do you think it's best to go into retail or direct to consumer? And I thought it was just an interesting, thought-provoking post because the variance of answers were like, you got the people that were like, heck no, don't go to retail ever, and then you got the people of like, no, like if you're ready, it could be a good opportunity. So I'm excited to see this journey and see what happens, and I'm sure there's a lot to learn, and we are in this renaissance right now where the landscape is changing. So it's a great opportunity to test and learn, try new things, see what works, see what doesn't work, and really I feel like as a vendor you have a little bit of leverage right now because retail as a whole is not doing great, and everyone's kind of looking for the anchor or the what do you call it, the life, what do you call the tube, the life tube that they throw out when you're drowning? They're looking for the lifeline. So that gives tremendous opportunity for folks like us that's starting new fashion businesses. So I'm excited for you.
Well, thank you. And to that question, I would say do both. Do both, because I have some fantastic customers who they have built a little collection of Lauren M clutches, and they come back every year to purchase a new one of a special time of the year. They know I'm going to have like florals, I'm going to have this or that, so they'll come back for that. So I say try your hand at both. And to your point, they're looking for a lifeline. Go back to what it is. Fashion trickles from the ground up.
Exactly.
So hit those boutiques, hit streetwear, hit the subways, and see what people are wearing and buying.
Yeah.
Because it's not what you think.
That's true. That's true. So love that. Well, thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Such a fun conversation. And I can't wait to hear about all your new endeavors with these collaborations. I'm excited to see what comes of it, and also the success for Dreamers and Drivers, and see how big it can get, because I think there's an opportunity for it to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Absolutely, and that's what we hope for.
No, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Was there anything else you wanted to share or?
I mean, I think we covered everything from soup to nuts, but
Literally.
definitely look out for Lauren M clutches and my accessories, scarves, and all kinds of fun home things that we're gonna add to our collections as well.
Very cool. But I appreciate you. This was so
I'm
fun.
so glad. I was so glad. This was amazing.
I hope you enjoyed today's conversation and learning a little bit more about real life fashion stories. If you like the content, please check out some of the other episodes that we have. Click the link to subscribe because we're only going to get bigger and better and bring in more wonderful guests like Lauren M., who talk about their journey in fashion. So, hope to see you guys soon for another episode of Real Life Fashion Stories.